We need to talk about Caitlin Clark. Let's you and me talk about Caitlin Clark since you refuse to talk about Caitlin Clark. And I care deeply about you. I spent over a decade in your marketing organization. I spent several years trying to get into your organization. And it's been 3 years since I left your company. I'm just here as a friend. I care about you. I want to show you two different charts here. One, your stock price since 2021. It is down nearly 60%. Your executives and the people who are making these decisions, their stock options are worthless. Meanwhile, you have the single biggest needle mover in all of American sports since Michael Jordan, and you have somehow convinced yourself that you...
All right, sit down, because what I'm about to tell you about Caitlin Clark and her massive Nike deal might just blow your mind. Everyone thought she hit the jackpot, signing with one of the biggest sports brands on the planet. Big name, big reach, big paycheck, right? Well, a former Nike employee just reportedly pulled back the curtain on how Nike handles things. And what's underneath isn't nearly as shiny or straightforward as the press release made it sound. It feels like while the world sees the iconic swoosh and the star player, the actual contract and the brand's approach to marketing her might be smoother and less impressive than everyone believes. Is Caitlin Clark just the face of a movement getting overlooked by the brand, or is she just the latest athlete to maybe get shortchanged behind the scenes? You're watching WNBA Scoop, and we're diving into the shocking claims from a former Nike insider about Caitlin Clark's contract and why it feels less like a celebration of her talent and more like a calculated, potentially misguided business move. Get ready, because this isn't just about a sneaker deal. It's about how marketing giants handle groundbreaking stars. And the more you learn, the more it feels like she signed up for a legacy and a hard lesson in corporate branding.
All right, black and white sports supporters. Well, something very interesting happened. Caitlin Clark's agent has issued a statement, put some comments out there while speaking at this Breaking Barriers Summit that they're having, I guess, by way of front office sports. Now, I made a video the other day because I got to looking around, and much to my surprise, I mean, even I thought Nike would have put something out the other day that was either pumping up or firing us up regarding Caitlin Clark's return to Iowa City. They didn't put out shit. Nike basketball or Nike. Nothing on social.
This former Nike employee, speaking out with what they claim is deep knowledge from spending years inside the company's marketing organization, reportedly didn't hold back. They essentially delivered a direct message to Nike leadership, saying, "We need to talk about Caitlin Clark." They reportedly expressed deep care for the company, mentioning their long history trying to get into the organization and their decade-plus spent working there. But they then immediately showed what they saw as a massive problem. Nike's stock price is reportedly way down, losing a huge percentage of its value since 2021, making executive stock options worthless. And then they pointed to Caitlin Clark, calling her the single biggest needle mover in all of American sports since Michael Jordan, meaning she has the power to bring in attention, fans, and money like almost no one else. But despite this, the former employee claims Nike has somehow convinced itself that it doesn't need to fully embrace and market her like the superstar she is, calling this thinking baffling and illogical.
So let me show you Google Trends search traffic for 4 female basketball players. There is one who only rivals Caitlin Clark, and that is Angel Reese, and you do not have her. She is over at Reebok. I am so confused as to how you would be so invested in the WNBA for several years, and you have been doing great work to try to elevate and uplift that league and many of the athletes there. But this seems like you have convinced yourself that this needs to be an either-or conversation, and we never have an either-or.
According to this former insider, somewhere in a corporate boardroom thick with that stale, recycled air and even staler, outdated thinking, a Nike executive likely glanced at a chart showing market trends and proudly declared, "Let's make a signature shoe." But then adding another layer of perceived baffling decision-making, they reportedly decided, just not for Caitlin Clark. The former employee finds this brilliant in its apparent absurdity. While Clark is out here reportedly rewriting the record books for scoring, making amazing passes, and selling out arenas across the country, driving unprecedented attention to the WNBA, Nike, the company known for jumping on major sports moments, somehow reportedly decided to pass on giving her her own signature shoe line early in her career. This, the former employee argues, isn't just a missed opportunity for the brand. It's a masterclass in marketing malpractice. Because, in their view, ignoring the biggest name in the game right now, the player driving all this attention, makes absolutely no business sense.
The truth finally came out. Caitlin Clark voted on by general managers, the best point guard, the best shooting guard, and the singular player they would start the franchise with. In the weird, insular WNBA, this has been a real struggle. You know the truth. And there's these people who are fans of indie bands, international soccer, and the WNBA. They have this gatekeeping mentality. We'll tell you who's great. Colin, I was watching the WNBA long before Caitlin Clark. Well, yeah, it's not my problem your social life was boring. I'm not going to apologize for watching it when it got really interesting. She's packing now larger arenas.
The former employee highlights the perceived disconnect in Nike's strategy. They reportedly point to other rising female basketball players like Angel Reese and question Nike's choices. They express confusion about how Nike, a company deeply invested in the WNBA and working to uplift female athletes, would allegedly act as if marketing Caitlin Clark is an either-or situation, as if they can't market her and other players at the same time. They reportedly believe Nike's thinking is stuck in an old way of looking at things, unable to see clearly because they are too close to the business and the bubble of internal thinking. They find it confusing that Nike seems to be so invested in the WNBA and has done good work to help the league, but when the biggest star comes along, they seem to hesitate or make questionable marketing decisions.
Okay, so this is the article that he was talking about. I have just a piece of it. He was basically asking a question and then answering it, right? So it says, is it because Nike is too woke? He said, perhaps, but I think it's paralysis by analysis. I also think that inside the bubble, you can't see clearly. When you're too close to the business, sometimes you don't appreciate what's going on in the wider circle.
The former insider and others who share this view reportedly believe that Caitlin Clark is to women's basketball what Beyoncé is to everything she touches. She's not just a talented player, she's an elite or generational talent who has reportedly ignited the entire basketball scene, dramatically reshaping the game and setting new standards. Even as others are trying to catch up to her level of play and her impact, she's reportedly still draining amazing shots from far away and making impossible plays, while it feels like others are just trying to figure out the basic parts of playing professional basketball without making mistakes. People who support this view say Clark's impact goes far beyond just her statistics on the court. They say she's a cultural phenomenon, someone who is changing how people see women's basketball and what it means to be a dominant player and an inspiration in the sport.
I realize tomorrow we are going to get a Kobe Protro, apparently. I haven't heard much about it. It's going to be $190. Very few people will be able to get it, and that will be about a year after you have signed her and after she won Rookie of the Year. This is so confusing to me. I am so perplexed.
It's almost laughable. Caitlin Clark shatters Kelsey Plum's all-time scoring record. Yes, Kelsey Plum's record.
The former insider reportedly points to the official voting by WNBA general managers, where Caitlin Clark was voted the best point guard, the best shooting guard, and the single player they would start a franchise with if they had the choice. This shows, they argue, that people within the league itself recognize her exceptional talent and importance. However, the former employee notes the strange struggle within the weird, insular WNBA surrounding Clark's sudden, massive popularity and the attention she brings. They acknowledge that some older fans of the WNBA who watched the league before Clark became a star feel like they have a gatekeeping mentality, like they get to decide who is a real star and who deserves attention. They reportedly mock this mentality, saying that if someone watched the WNBA before Clark because their social life was boring, they shouldn't expect people to apologize for watching now that it's become exciting and popular because of her.
Don't get it twisted. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA.
Yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
She said it's not just one person, it's both of us. Angels team, right, in Chicago. And they're attending 6,000, 6,000, 12,000, 9,000, 8,000, 8,000, and then 17,000. Whoa, why was it 17,000? Who she played? Who you think she played?
So, according to this former Nike executive, what does Nike, this massive company that calls itself the sneaker deity of athletic sponsorship, do with this blazing star of a player, this cultural force? They reportedly simply squint at her brilliance like they need glasses, meaning they don't seem to fully see or understand how important she is, and they decide to sit back instead of going all in on marketing her. The former employee finds it baffling that Nike hasn't had a big, grand fanfare launch for her, no iconic advertising campaign, not even a simple commercial with dramatic music. They reportedly feel like Nike is treating her like she's just another bench player for a small team somewhere, not the electrifying force who is changing women's sports in decades.
Caitlin Clark, obviously. Nike have screwed Caitlin Clark. Nike have screwed Caitlin Clark, and this is the first topic I want to talk about live on stream. But Nike have absolutely screwed.
The former employee calls it a baffling move that leaves you wondering why such a game-changing athlete isn't getting the massive spotlight she seems to deserve from her major sponsor. They find it crazy that Nike would pass on giving her a signature shoe line, especially when other players, like Angel Reese, reportedly are getting signature shoes despite, in the former employee's opinion, not having the same level of on-court performance or bringing the same level of attention to the league as Clark. They point to Angel Reese getting a signature shoe line while, according to them, her team is losing badly, and her biggest moment is related to acting tough. This feels to the former employee like a baffling contrast that highlights how some athletes get all the marketing hype and deals, while others, like Clark in the case of a signature shoe, are somehow overlooked or delayed.
Now, you would think with this being such a big game for Caitlin, her returning to her alumni in Iowa and her hitting that massive logo 3, the logo 3 during the game, that some of her sponsors would want to show her support on social media, do any sort of marketing to uplift her and uplift their brand. And one who did do that was Gatorade. They tweeted a photo of her and they said, "Real home court advantage. Welcome back to Iowa, Caitlin Clark." Now, one of her lead sponsors that was noticeably quiet yesterday was Nike. And a lot of people were tweeting about this. They were wondering, why isn't Nike and Nike basketball, why are none of their accounts saying anything about this?
Caitlin Clark doesn't need Nike. Nike needs her. Yet the fact that this still needs to be said shows how far the swoosh has drifted from truly understanding the moment.
The former Nike employee reportedly finds it almost laughable that Caitlin Clark shatters records, like Kelsey Plum's all-time scoring record, redefines what a guard can do in basketball, completely changes how teams have to play defense against her, and attracts TV ratings that are sometimes higher than many NBA games. And yet Nike, her sponsor, seems to act like they don't fully get it. They reportedly feel like Nike should look at all of Clark's accomplishments and say, maybe we shouldn't treat her like she's just some rookie player who isn't a big deal, but instead, they reportedly act like she's just someone asking for free socks off the street, like she's not worth the big investment.
Nike struck absolute gold when they signed Caitlin Clark to an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal. So why in the world are they ignoring her?
The former employee suggests that Caitlin Clark should have walked away from her Nike contract quickly, calling it screwed up and unbelievable. They think she should have just ended the deal and let other companies like Adidas, Puma, or even New Balance fight to sign her. They reportedly believe that if she signed with New Balance, that company would become super popular in sports quickly because of her. They think Adidas would cancel other deals and focus completely on her. They even joked that Puma might change its name to Caitlin Clark Athletics to get attention and make it a tax write-off. The former employee feels the difference between Clark's huge talent and impact and Nike's seemingly lukewarm way of marketing her is shocking, showing how some big brands just miss or overlook the most exciting athletes of our time.
Things I done seen in my entire life. It don't make no sense. See, the problem Nike is this. Nike, you, other endorsement companies, other coaches, other GMs, you guys don't dictate to us who the face of the league is. The consumer does that. The viewer does that. That's who does that. And the viewers and the consumers are telling you that
Caitlin Clark has become the face of the WNBA, and not by corporate design, but by overwhelming fan support, TV ratings, and record-breaking performances. Yet, as she continues to dominate headlines, sell out arenas, and rack up viral highlights like her recent 36-foot logo 3 in Iowa, one of her biggest sponsors.
The former insider reportedly believes that Caitlin Clark is the reason why many great things are happening for the WNBA right now, and that other players should understand that. They mention Angel Reese saying it's not just one person bringing attention, but it's both of us, referring to herself and Clark. The former employee then reportedly shows attendance numbers for Angel Reese's team, the Chicago Sky, showing some games with smaller crowds and then one game with a much bigger crowd. They then ask who Reese played in that game with a big crowd, suggesting it was against Caitlin Clark's team, proving Clark is the main draw for attendance.
She's signing an 8-year, $28 million Nike deal, but for some people it caused controversy since they're arguing that there are other WNBA players already in the league who don't even have a deal like that. So just in general, what do you guys think about the discourse between that? And then what do you guys think of the major deal that she is receiving?
Yeah, I think anyone's upset with Caitlin Clark's deal doesn't understand the publicity that's on the line here. When you think of being in front of a national camera for 36 games, almost back to back, that type of promotion you would have to pay top dollar for.
They reportedly feel that Nike looked at Caitlin Clark, who they call the most electrifying college player of our era, and decided to just wait and see if her popularity would last. The former employee calls this a huge mistake in sports marketing, like turning down Beyoncé to sponsor a small local musician. They believe Caitlin Clark is the real thing, the unmoment, someone who is actually changing the sport. Yet, they feel Nike is acting like she's just one marketing deal away from becoming unimportant. They argue that Nike should understand how big a deal she is because she filled every place she played in college, making Iowa a big deal on TV. She was scoring points easily and making amazing plays all the time.
As soon as it was announced that Caitlin Clark got the shoe deal, by the way, who the hell leaked how much Caitlin Clark was getting paid in the shoe deal? Like, we can never forget, we don't know what anyone else is getting paid. We don't know what anyone else is getting paid, but we know what Caitlin Clark got paid. Who leaked that? Who leaked that?
The former employee says that the WNBA even started putting games on national TV more often because of her. They see her making people who didn't watch basketball before, like grandmas and little kids, watch games and get excited. Meanwhile, they say Nike's big marketing idea for her seems to be nothing special, like just waiting to see what happens. The former employee thinks this is a big mistake, showing that Nike doesn't really understand how important Clark is right now. The former insider believes Nike has screwed Caitlin Clark by not marketing her more strongly. They say Nike didn't even do simple things like show support for her when she played a big game back in her college town. They reportedly expected Nike to do something exciting, like an early ad or a big campaign, but they did nothing on social media. The former employee feels Nike has absolutely messed up, and they didn't even try to hide it.
It seems that everybody is smelling the coffee. Most people are smelling the coffee and coming to the realization that Caitlin Clark is the GOAT. Most people are coming to the realization that she is the best thing since pants with pockets, the best thing since sliced bread. Most people are coming to that realization. Everybody but...
They say that Angel Reese and her team, the Chicago Sky, sometimes get a lot of attention, but it's often for drama or controversies, not for consistent winning or amazing play. The former employee feels like Angel Reese is focusing on off-court drama and acting out, while Caitlin Clark is just quietly focusing on playing great basketball and getting better. Clark is reportedly making reporters follow her everywhere, like she's a huge celebrity, and she's good at handling the attention while still playing at a high level. The former insider says that Nike seems to be ignoring this amazing athlete who has everything a brand wants: dominance, calmness under pressure, and the ability to make people excited about watching. They joke that maybe Nike thinks you have to cause drama or lose badly and act tough to get their attention and a signature shoe deal, because they gave Angel Reese a shoe line, even though, in their opinion, her team is losing and her biggest moments are tied to drama. The former employee emphasizes that Caitlin Clark doesn't need Nike. Nike needs her. But they say the fact that this still needs to be said shows that Nike hasn't fully understood how big this moment is. They feel like Nike is stuck in the past and isn't keeping up with the new stars who are changing the game today. They say Nike had a perfect chance to do something big with Clark, like an easy layup in basketball terms, but they completely missed it. They think it's not just wrong, it's also a bad business move. They say Caitlin Clark is so popular she could sell anything, even weird things, and people would buy it because it's her. They believe that if she signed with a different company, that company would become super popular because of her. They think today fans care about the person, the personality, not just the shoes. And right now, Clark is the biggest star in women's basketball. She represents the excitement and energy of the sport. She doesn't need a bad shoe. She deserves a cool, special shoe that shows how great she is. The former employee feels that Nike struck gold by signing Clark to a big deal, but they are messing it up by ignoring her. Instead of seeing her as a rising star, they seem to be focusing on players who cause drama instead of playing great basketball. They think Nike is missing a huge chance to market Clark and her amazing game. They call it a choke job, like missing a super important shot that costs you the game. They think other companies are watching and want to sign her if she leaves Nike. They believe she should leave Nike and go to a company that will truly support and market her. They think she should go to a company like Adidas, New Balance, or Under Armour. Companies that would see her as a huge star and give her big deals, maybe even let her help design her own shoes and products. They think Nike is making a mistake by not marketing her better, and that they might wait too long until she's already a massive legend, and then it will be too late. The former employee says that Nike and other companies need to understand that fans, the people who buy things, are the ones who decide who the face of the league is, not the companies or coaches or people in charge. And right now, the fans are saying that Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA. She's become the biggest star because of how well she plays and how many people watch her games. She's selling out places and making the league popular, not because companies told people to like her, but because people like watching her. The former insider believes Nike's mistake isn't just about missing a marketing chance. It's about not understanding how much women's sports are changing and how big a deal Caitlin Clark is right now. They think women's sports are exploding in popularity, and Clark is the main reason. If Nike doesn't handle this carefully, they think it could be a major mistake for the company, something that people will study later in business classes, as an example of how to mess up a huge opportunity. They feel that when Caitlin Clark eventually joins a company that truly supports her talent and helps her career, Nike will be left behind, feeling bad and maybe even wishing they had done more. They say greatness like Clark's doesn't wait, it keeps moving forward. If Caitlin Clark decides to leave Nike, the former employee believes every other brand will be happy to sign her. If you enjoyed hearing about these shocking claims from a former Nike executive about Caitlin Clark's contract and how she's being marketed, leaving a like and subscribing helps us continue bringing you these stories. What do you think about these claims? Is Nike making a mistake with Caitlin Clark? Drop your opinion in the comments below.